Hey guys, what's up? City here and welcome back to another exciting visual effect tutorial. Today we are going to see After Effects to Blender visual effect workflow, where we will see how we can use After Effects for tracking and compositing, and I will use Blender for 3D recreation, simulation and all the rendering stuff. So watch this video till the end, and yeah, let me show you what we are going to create today. This is After Effects 2025 and I have these footage and environment map. I will provide this. So I will simply select and drag my footage over here and just simply drag and drop it here. Disable caps lock and just make it fit up to 100%. So this is our video footage, you can see. If I go to the composition setting here, you can notice all the width and height and frame rate. So let me right click and go to the track and stabilize and choose track camera. Basically I'm using After Effects to do camera tracking, and then I will use a tool called Aejuice to transfer this tracking data from After Effects to Blender, and I will do all the 3D recreation simulation inside Blender. Okay, so we have this information over here. Let me just down the track point size. So I can simply drag and select a couple of points and right click and choose set ground plane and origin, and again I can create solid and camera. So I have this solid. If I want, I can just scale it and rotate this a bit to check this, and if I want, I can apply a grid effect onto this ground, and I can just make the border a bit thicker, and let's play and check to see if it's properly sticking on the ground, and I think it is sticking. Select a few more points, like I can select these and I can create another solid, and I will also select all these points and I can create right click and choose create 54 nulls. So we have around this much of nulls and solids, which I will try to export in Blender. Save this, so Ctrl S to save, and let me quickly open Blender 5.0. This is the latest version of Blender, and this is the Blender 5.0. Edit, preferences, interface, and maybe I can go with the 1.25 is nice. Okay, and I will go to the After Effects once again, and now I want to export all these data inside Blender, and I created a tool called Aejuice, which is super cool, and it reduce your manual hustle a lot. So if I go to the file script and choose Aejuice script, now I can simply export my camera solid and nulls. So I'll click export, and here I'll just rename this to the tracking, and I can see that I lock export successful. Now I will open Blender and press N, and this is Aejuice, and here I can simply load that JSON data. So this is tracking.json. Select it and click accept, and since our video footage in vertical format, in the advanced panel enable vertical, and let's click import, and it will import everything. Here you can see all the nulls and all the solids is imported. To check this, I will simply go to the camera view, and here I can load my video footage. So this is the footage, accept, load footage and enable in background. Go to the first frame and make the opacity to full, and let me play, and you will notice we have successfully imported our solids, null, everything inside Blender, and you can see this look really nice, and the process was very easy and simple, and we quickly did it. Here you will notice a couple of things, like our scene orientation is not right. You can see the green and red axis. So here in the world scale I can rotate this, and with holding shift I can go a bit slow, and I will quickly create a new cube. So you can see the cube size is very tiny, so I will use this world scale and just make it down. So now I think this looks a bit nice, and if I play again, you can see everything is so simple with our add-on. It's not necessary to use this. If you have any other add-on, you can use it, but our tool is very easy. You can easily transfer your solids camera and null, and you can control it. So once you done here, the first part is completed. Now let's move to the next part and we will build our 3D scene. So I'll just hide this cube, and if I want to use this solid, I can use it, or maybe I can recreate this. So since we have a lot of nulls in our scene, here you can see all the empties. So I want to hide this from viewport and render. So I can simply go to the filter tab and choose disable the empties. So now you can see in our collection tracking import, I can simply hide the plane, both planes, okay? And here I can create a new plane and just scale it. So this much scale is nice. I can also select this edge, EY, and just move it over here, EX, and just basically I am just trying to make our ground plane, and here I can go and enable the wireframe mode. For the keyboard button, first I have to create a hole in the ground. I can go to the edit mode and create some edge loop. So let's see where I want to build that. Here, Control R one more time. Here, something around ZX. Control R, and one more time over here. Okay, disable this. So I think this part is nice to add those buttons. I can simply apply the scale. Then let me go to the Sketchfab, and there are many cool keyboard here, so I can nice Control C and V. This looks really nice. This one is too good. Okay, so I'm going with this. Let's see, I can download this 3D model and use GLTF, download, and wait for it. I can extract this and open this, copy, and click new, and here I will simply add keyboard. Go to the file, import GLTF, and I will just import, and this is the keyboard. Okay, press slash to solo this, enable rendered mode and scene world, and also disable this wireframe. So we need this button. Okay, so I need this button and this C. So let me solo, and let's see how we can extract. So I can simply select edit mode and press L to select this F3, separate by selection. So this is CTRL. Now I will select this, L to link selection, and press F3, separate by selection, and rename this to the C. And same, I will select this, F3, separate by selection, and this will be V. So I got all these three. Press M and new collection called main buttons, and hide this keyboard for now. So let me roughly align this. Select this all three, Control A to apply the scale, set origin to the geometry. I can select all these three, Alt G to reset the location, and now I can simply move them aside like this. Okay, so I have these buttons. Press slash to unsolo these. I can go to the solid mode, and first thing first, I can scale these buttons. Let me enable the wireframe mode so I can see and roughly align these three buttons over here, RZ and 180 around here. Now I can select this ground plane, press I to insert faces, and here I can just press Ctrl R and just add some edge loop. So I can press 3 and I can select all these three faces, press I, insert, and maybe I can just make them down like this, even more down, and you can see this looks really nice. But I feel I should add some subdivision. So to do that, I can simply select these total parts from here, enable the X-ray mode. So I can select and press F3, separate by selection. So now this part is separated. Okay, this part is separated, and I can simply add a bevel modifier for this edge, add some segments, and settings. Okay, so this is fine for now, and later we can see what to do, but this is fine for now. Okay, now the one part is finished, like we added our buttons here. Let's focus on the lighting. So let me go to the rendered mode and go to the render properties, and here I can just change this to the cycles, GPU, and enable denoiser. And now I want to see our video footage, so for that I will go to the film and enable transparent. And here I want to use, first let me disable this, so this is by default one. Let me go to the world tab, and in the color I will use the environment texture, and I will simply use one of these. So I will select this one and open image, and maybe I can just boost the strength too. And here I'll go to the shader editor. So I'll go to the world tab, and this is this, right? Now if you'll notice clearly, select this, let me hide this. If you'll notice clearly, in our scene we have sun, but the 360 I captured with my phone does not capture the high quality HDRI map, so I have to manually plug the sun here. So let's shift D to duplicate these and search a mix shader node, and in the second one, in the color I will use a sky texture. And the cool thing into the Blender 5.0, we have the multiple scattering. In the previous one is single one called Nishita, but now we have multiple scattering, which is a bit better. Please do a couple of changes. Sun intensity, let me go to the 0.2, and background, let me make it 1, and sun elevation is around 25, because this was the early morning time, so maybe this is nice. I can just play with the rotation, and if I hide this, you can see this is the shadow. It means the sun is coming from this direction, so I'll simply do like this, and later we can also change this to the like 15 for the longer shadow. Sun size maybe 2 to just make the shadows a bit softer. So I will go like this for now. This way we are mixing our HDRI and our sun together. Okay, so this looks nice for me, and for now Ctrl S to save this. I will select this ground plane. Let me rename this to the ground, and I'll go to the object and click new, and this will be ground. And here I will simply load our video footage and plug the color into the base color, make the frames 1000 and make it auto refresh, and press Ctrl T and plug this window into the vector. So now our video footage is projecting the texture on the ground with the same camera angle, which we will look through like with the camera view, right? Here I can just boost the roughness high. And if you'll notice, our ground plane is looking a bit different from our original one. So this is the time when we should adjust the world parameters. So let me down the strength to 1. And here let me make it 0 first to see which is affecting more. So I think this one. I can press Ctrl T, go to the render properties and then film, and I will just disable this transparent, so I can see this environment, and here I can just rotate this something like this. Okay, let me go to the render properties, film, and enable transparent once again. And this ground plane should behave a bit. Okay, so let me disable this principal BSDF and normally use diffuse BSDF to the surface. And here let me go to the output properties and enable render region. On this one maybe I can use the same texture, so let's go here and use this ground. Let me copy this material, and we can adjust it if needed. So let me rename this to the keyboard ground, and I will go to the properties of object properties, and into the visibility I'll just make it shadow catcher. So in the keyboard one I use this diffuse BSDF because without this shadow catcher is not behaving as I want. So I'll just plug this and now it's behaving as I want, so you can see. So now it feels like this is properly stick inside. And even I can solo this, go to the solid mode, and maybe I can select these, and just make them down, and I can press Ctrl and plus, and I will select all these parts, and I can assign a different material, and this will be back side of ground. I'm just adding some weird names, and now I can press F3 and choose separate by selection. So now I want to keep these parts visible all the time. So I'll go to the object data properties, and here I just disable the shadow catcher. So now if I will make this render enable, now you can see these parts are visible. So use this similar color. Okay, so far so good. I can select this ground and use this diffuse curve, RGB curve, and this should be blue, should be down, and green should be down. I just try my best to line up this a bit with this curve, and I can go to the world and just make the strength 3, and maybe this one as well as. So now this is nice. Now I can just make it shadow catcher. Perfect. So we matched the lighting, we added the keyboards, and we added all these extra things which we needed. Now it's time to add for the animation and simulation. So let's move quickly to the EV, and I can also enable ray tracing. And since it visible, the other parts is also visible, I can select the camera and go to the camera properties and viewport display and enable this 100% or maybe 1. So now if I'll play, you can see I want to hide this 3D cursor. So let's quickly create 2 views. So maybe once this camera come over here, I can press Ctrl and then C. I can simply make it all transform and set origin to geometry. So now I can simply animate them. So I can press K for the location, and maybe on the 90 it will go down. So how much it will go down? So maybe like I'm not sure. So maybe GZ, something like this. K and choose location. So I can select this, press T, and I can also use the Bezier curve. And here if I want, I can choose the graph editor, and I can just scroll it, and I use the Y. So maybe I can just delete this X and G, and I can just only keep the Y. So if I want to move, if I want to do anything with the curve, I can just simply do it over here, something like this. Nice. And once it pressed, now I can select this K and choose location, and on here it will go down, something like this. Okay, K and choose location. If you want to be more specific, you can just notice how much values you are going down for this first one, and do the same for here. I can select this T and choose Bezier curve, and here again I can just delete the, and I can just select one handle with holding shift, select drag and hold shift. So something like this, and then Control C, and then I just press Control V. So on here it will go up. So maybe I can simply copy this, Control C, Control V. I'm doing here as well as Control V. So it will be something like, and then I'll start pressing Control V, okay, for the location, and just go here and K and location. Select this T and make it Bezier curve. Delete the X and Z and make it home button, and do the same here. V, right? You can see. So let me see the animation from here. So once object will be visible, then Control C and V. So it will paste, and once it will visible once again, copy these, Control C, Control V, Control C, and Control V, and Control V. I'm just simply duplicating these, copy and pasting these, so it will repeat the same motion once again. So like this, and Control V one more time. So we just added animation here. If you want, you can just use the graph editor and you can just tweak these. Now I want to move with the physics simulation, and it's up to you what object you want to duplicate. In my case, I want to duplicate a earpod, so I will simply open Sketchfab. This is nice, so maybe I can just download this 3D model and GLTF format. I know this tutorial is getting longer, but I told you in the beginning I will share everything. That's why I'm sharing everything. So I will simply copy this path, create a new collection called AirPods, and go to the file, import GLTF, and paste that directory over here and import that 3D model. Okay, so now it's press / to solo, and I don't think we need this base part. Simply select object, Alt P, clear and keep transformation, and then I will just simply delete all these, and now I can select R. Maybe I can enable X-ray mode to select everything. In last, select one part and press Ctrl J to join them, and same I will select here and shift select one object, Ctrl J to join them. So this is the left version, this is the L, and this is the R. So L, or maybe this I can select both, Ctrl A, or here you can see this is very tiny, so I can select them and just scale them a bit bigger. And let me see, and just move it over this side. Okay, and maybe RZ 180 degree to rotate it in this direction. Nice. If I want, I can just make it even more, but this much scale is nice. So this is nice. I can press Ctrl A and apply all the transform, set origin to geometry, and they are very complex mesh. Anyways, now I will simply apply a rigid body. So I will select these models, go to the physics properties, apply rigid body, and if I'll make it play, it will fall down. So I will select this ground plane, and I will not use gravity in the beginning, so I can leave it now, but let me make the ground plane as a passive and just make it as a box, or let's leave it the mesh. And sensitivity, just make the margin 0.001, play, and you can see this is nice. And the by default is set to convex hull, which looks nice. Let me save incremental. Okay, I can select the second part, rigid body, and make the sensitivity collision margin to 0.001. Same for this 0.001. So now you can see they looks nice, but since I don't want them to fall on the ground, I can go to the scene properties, and here I can disable the gravity for now, so they will not fall. Okay, but there is no movement going on, so for that I can add a force field called turbulence and make this into new collection called forces. Okay, so it's not moving. Oh, okay, it's moving but not showing. So let me name. Yeah, this is the turbulence. Okay, let's make it down. Or let's enable the gravity, but just make it like 1, so they will go very slow, I guess. I'll select the turbulence, go to the physics properties, and let me use 100 strength, size 1, flow 1. Okay, so they are moving now. So now here I'll just disable the gravity. Yeah, they are moving. Oh my god, there are a bunch of nulls which I have to delete. And also delete. Okay, I'll select these two. Control D to duplicate. Or maybe I can just leave it and I can use only one. Let's go with this one. So once Control V, this here, this should appear. So first make it animated, so it will not move from its location. So on the 143, this will be animated, and I will just press I to add a keyframe on this dialog. And once it pressed Control V, this should not be animated, and I'll press I once again. So this animated parameter is key out. Okay, so let me just move it a bit like here. So you can see this will be stays on the same location all the time until this trigger actually. So what I will do, I will simply add a keyframe on the scale as well as here on the object data properties and just make it 0. Okay, press I once again, and on here it should visible to 1 and press I. This should behave like this. Let me see from the beginning. Something like this. And in the starting maybe I can just rotate them a bit like this. And I can also add a force field. So the force field will attract every part, object with together. So I will simply add a new force field, and force field will be over here. Okay, so this will try to attract everything together. If I'll go to the physics properties and let me make the strength to -100 and flow 1. Let me play, and you can see this is trying to pull everything together. Oh my god. And here I can also select these object and maybe just make it over here. So this is spinning a lot, right? Like in the scene, rigid body world, and this is split impulse. So you can see reduce extra velocity that can build up when object collide, lower simulation stability a little, so use only when necessary. So yeah, this is the time, and I can increase the sub step, but let's go with the and this is spinning a lot. So I have another solution. I can go to the physics properties, and in the dynamic we have option for the rotation and translation. So make the rotation high, so it will try to reduce the rotation over time. So you can see, or let's also move this. Okay, so press K on the location. Let's go to the very end and press K and choose location. And here on the graph editor, I can on the Z, let's choose noise. And here I can just play. So let's go to the starting, and if I'll play, I'll select these and change this to the convex hull. Okay, so after 250 it stopped working. So go to the scene properties, and in the cache here I'll just make it 323. Increase the sub step more high. so simulation should be more stable. Let's go with the scale, and here in the timeline object scale, and let me something like this is a bit nice. I just make the scaling from 3 to 4 frames, so they don't just appear very quickly. So now the next step is to do the same again. Okay, I forget to unlock this, right? So just unlock it, otherwise if I try to move, these things will not work. Okay, nice. So here it works, and after that it press again over here 250, right? So shift D, duplicate these and move this over here. Nice. And one more time around here. So shift D and just move it over here. So let me play and let's see what's happened now. Let's try one more time this split impulse, and let's hope it should work. Now this looks a bit better. And here maybe I can just build a UV sphere, just make it bigger, something like this. Set smooth, and just make it a rigid body and make it passive, and just make it a mesh. Okay, and margin 0.001, and in the viewport display just make it like bound, and in the render tab I'll just disable it, but let's focus over here for now. Let's see if it makes any sense to work. Okay, so this looks a bit nice. And guys, one more thing, like this is the soft step, so sometime the lower can work, sometime higher can work, so I can just make it up and down and see which looks nice, and we can just keep that. And guys, this is a bit better. Even I can just increase the sub step more. Here is another thing. Let's suppose we are using the convex hull. Sometimes convex hull is not too good, so I can use the mesh, but since our mesh is too dense, it will too heavy to simulate. So let's try one more time. Let's try one time and let's see if it you can see this is super slow, so I'm not going to do that. Let's try maybe like a capsule, and same here for the capsule, and this will be much more stable and much more here I will select this part and just make it capsule, and let's try. This will be a lot stable, but this will not too accurate. You can see this is going down and these will intersect, but you can see the stability is a lot better. Select all these and press Alt and change this to the convex hull, because that one is a bit nice, you can see. And I can go down, and here in the rotation I can just play with this location and rotation, so they will not move too much over time. And in the turbulence, let's try to 45, and also maybe I can just make it like slow force is nice. I believe this sub step, and maybe that can work. So let's go with that 45. So this is nice. Even I can increase it even more, but this is a bit better. Let's go with the 55. Okay, so this is nice. I can just bake all dynamics for now. So you can see the dynamics is already baked. Now I can select this sphere and disable it. So I can see, and this looks nice. I can go here and just enable the cycles. I can select these forces and disable this for now, even for the turbulence. Here I am noticing something. The overall temperature is cool. So let's go down in the color management, and here this is set to the AGX, the Rec 2020, which is more accurate. I can choose the look to the medium high contrast, and along with that we have the white balance. So our scene has some warmer tone, or I can simply select a white object. Let's go here and select this white object, and this will set this is really nice. And even we can control with our shader editor. So here if I go to the shader editor, world properties, and this is our environment map and all those other stuff. Let's go with the 0.5 maybe, and let me go to the 2. And still I have option to play with the sun rotation. So for the rendering, what I will do, I will simply render these into some passes. So here I'll go to the layer options, and if I go to the rendered mode, and if I'll here, this is the combined. So this is the shadow pass. I will enable the shadow catcher, and we also need the ambient occlusion pass. So I will enable that ambient occlusion pass, and also the combined pass. These are the enough, I guess. I'll go to the compositing, click new. I will search a file output node, and I'll just plug this image here. And if I go to the node, now we have option where to export and accept. And I want to use multi-layer EXR format, and I can choose the codec to the DWA lossy. We have more options, and here I can just rename these to like color. I can plus new, and this will be AO, and this will be again the shadow catcher. So plug this ambient occlusion into the ambient occlusion and shadow catcher into the shadow catcher. So everything will be exported, and that's it. Make the 256 samples for the render. Denoise I will choose optics. Light path by default works nice, I guess. If you want, you can enable motion blur, which will take a bit time in rendering, but that will be too good for the effect. So let me show you what I mean. So if you render this image, this last one, you will able to notice the motion blur. You can see this part. So if you want, you can just keep this motion blur on, and once you are ready, just simply render and render animation. So let me render this, and I will back once it finished. So our rendering is already finished, and this is After Effects 2025. I will open this footage over here and drag and drop on this icon, and it will create the composition. And I will just double tap here, and I will paste my directory over here, and I will select the first EXR file. Make sure this open EXR sequence is selected so that it will import all the frame, and I can just simply drag and drop it here. One thing is very necessary. Make sure your composition frame rate, this is 30, and your footage, so you can check it here, frame rate should match. If not, you should change it here. Okay, so in my case it's fine, so I will press enter and rename this to the color, and go to the effect and control panel. You can see it's looking totally black, so I will search an effect called extractor R and drag and drop it here. When we are exporting from Blender, we exported color, ambient occlusion and shadow catcher pass separately. So in the layer, I'll first select the color, and you will notice our color is back. So if you'll notice, we have very punchy highlights. So this is the white point. I can just make it 1.5 or maybe 1.2. So this is nice. And this is an option called unmold. So I'll just make it, enable it, so the you will notice this black edge in our render will go on. You can see. And after that, I have to enhance the gamma. So I can simply add another effect called exposure, and I can just drag it below. And in the gamma correction, I'll just make it like 2.6. And you will notice our render is looking really nice. In last, I can maybe add a curse effect. And here I can just add some contrast into our scene. So this looks really nice. Ctrl S to save. I can simply select and Ctrl D to duplicate. And in this one, I just put it below the color and rename this to the shadow, because in our scene you can see shadow is missing. And in the shadow catcher, let me hide this exposure and curve for now. And in the layer panel, I will choose shadow catcher. So you will notice we have the shadows right over here. And if you solo this, you can notice only the shadow part. So in the blending mode, I can change this to the multiply and unsolo this. So you can see this is before, this is after, but you will notice our scene is a bit darker when we apply this shadow. The reason is because we changed the white point to 1.3. So I'll just make it 1. And you will notice we successfully composited our shadow. If I want, I can just add a exposure, and with this I can play with the opacity of shadow. So I'll just keep it something like this. In last, if you want, you can add a curse effect, and you can just do some correction if needed only. One last thing is AO. So Ctrl D, the first color layer, press enter and change this to the AO, and let's hide this exposure and curve and solo this layer. And now in the layer panel, I will select AO, and if I'll unsolo this, and if I'll change the blending mode to the multiply, you will notice a cutout here on the ground. I don't want that. I want to ambient occlusion only affected on the color pass, like these parts. So in the alpha, I will select this color alpha. So you can see this AO is only applied on these parts. Now this is too high. So first let me go to the white point to the 1, and on the I will disable this unmult, and next I will apply this exposure and also the curve. And here I can just reset this curve, and maybe I will disable this exposure, and maybe I can press T and just make the opacity a bit down, something like this, or let's go with the 50 for now. And this feel right for me, but in your case, if you think this is a bit like cooler tone, but in our scene is a bit warmer side, on this color maybe I can add a lumetri color. And here in the basic correction, in the white balance I will select this, and I will select this, and this will fix the issue. So this is before, a cooler tone, and just a subtle thing, but it totally enhances. If you closely observe, this is before, this is after, before and after. Definitely enhance the highlight and add some contrast. I can also apply one more adjustment layer on top of everything, and here I can do the lumetri color, and it will adjust everything. So let's suppose if I want to add the contrast, I can just make the vibrance 45. So let me quickly select everything, and let me pre-comp this, and let's see the final look. And guys, we have some amazing courses about CGI and visual effect, especially for advertisement purpose, so you can go and check it out. Alright, so this is the final look, you can see, and this looks really nice, and simulation is looking good. To enhance it even more, what you can do, you can add some extra elements in our 3D world. So you can see, if you'll notice these shadows, it will create shadows on these buttons as well as, And if you want, you can just make these a bit down, so it will cast shadow over here. Right now shadow is somewhere around here, so it's not visible in the scene. But yeah, this is pretty much it. One last thing which I want to discuss. If you'll notice let me go over here. If you'll notice our iPhone footage, this has some crispiness or sharpness, but our main footage it is a bit softer side. So I can select the color, and maybe here I can add a unsharp mask. Let me focus on this side. This is before and this is after. Maybe I can just add 5. So this can work, or there is an option for sharpen, and yeah, this can add. You can see now this is blending a bit more before and after. So definitely you can play with these things, and once you think this is ready, just press Ctrl M, and now you can select where you want to export, and you can here change the output setting like format and etc. By default works nice, so hit OK and just click render, and it will render your final VFX scene. So I hope you really enjoy learning these things, and as I said earlier, I explained everything from start to end, and I really hope you can create something really nice, something really cool. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for loving me. I am NPS3D, and I will see you next time. Until then, keep working, keep smiling. Bye bye and take care.